Welcome.
Hey, everybody.
It is the Jerry and J. Rob Cover It All special show.
What it is.
But today, on our first guest debut, we have retired Lieutenant Colonel George Matthews.
Welcome, Mr. George.
It's great to be here.
Well, we are glad you're here. So, the retired Lieutenant Colonel is going to share some of his life and his story and some of his achievements and overcomings that he's been able to accomplish in his lifetime, and we'll kind of bat some questions off of him and talk some positivity and mindset and things of that nature to help move the show along. So if you would, George, would you start? Just tell us who you are, what you do, what you're doing right now.
All right. Well, it's George with a G, not a J, although I'm with Jerry and J. Rod. I'm from Chesapeake, Virginia, born and raised in Virginia. But my military career started. My mom used to like to tell people I left at 17 and never came home.
There you go.
17 years old, 1 July 1983, day one at West Point. They call it our day. So for the next 4 years, I was at the United States Military Academy, West Point, New York, class of 87.
There you go.
Our
Pretty special on its own, right?
Oh, very special.
Yep.
35th anniversary's coming up. But after West Point, I was an infantry officer. That was my branch of service, and ended up at Fort Benning, Georgia. While I was a cadet, I was at Fort Benning, Georgia. Went to airborne school. So one of my assignments in my career was at Fort Bragg, the 82nd Airborne Division, jumping out in airplanes. That was 13 years into my career, so all of the thrill of jumping out in airplanes had gone. I was married, I had a kid, and I found no fun in hooking up on that static line and jumping out the door. In 1989, so very young lieutenant, I was at Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Okay.
I met my wife at Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Yeah.
We have been married coming up on 32 years.
I think you've done all right.
Congratulations.
We've done
That's
really
awesome.
well.
Well done.
I was blessed to get Fort Polk. I thought it was the best kept secret in the Army. A lot of general officers and colonels while I was at West Point was like, hey, don't you want to go to Germany? Don't you want to go somewhere
Right.
exciting?
Right.
And I had a friend at the academy. He was from Louisiana. And so I definitely wanted to get back to Louisiana. And I met one of those Cajun Creole Southwest Louisiana girls.
There you go.
And changed my life. But my first unit was 4th Battalion, 6th Infantry Regiment, 5th ID, Fort Polk, and we deployed to Panama for Operation Just Cause. It was initially Nimrod Dancer, but while we were there, they changed it to Just Cause, and we invaded Panama, took down Manuel Noriega, and that sort of thing. You asked me to share, had I lost anyone? One of our soldiers, Ken B. Scott, a young kid, West Virginia. I think he was 19, 20 years old, very young. Was the only soldier killed in our company and 2 in our battalion. So that is something that I will always remember. And what is striking, I had my West Point Bible, I had my dog tags that said Baptist, because being from Virginia, you're going to a Baptist church, at least I did.
Right.
All the kids in my neighborhood went to some church. But so we had a prayer service and we took communion prior to going into combat. And I recall vividly Ken not going. He stayed back. We were a mechanized unit, so he stayed back with the tracks. He was listening to a Walkman. He was listening to a Jody Watley cassette. and I had a Prince Black album. It was the album that was so bad they couldn't sell it in the record stores.
Right.
We had a bootleg version of it.
Yeah.
And I came back from the prayer meeting, having taken communion, Baptist on my dog tag, West Point Bible with my name on it in my hand, and I put it behind the radio in the tracked vehicle,
Right.
and asked Ken to borrow the Walkman so I could put this cassette in.
Have a little Prince time.
A little Prince time. Get ready for combat. And sure enough, he wasn't going to say no. I'm a first lieutenant. He's a private. And of course he said, yes, sir. So made the exchange, gave him his tape, put mine in, and not 6 hours later, Ken is dead.
Yeah.
And I'm livid. And I had an opportunity that I don't take lightly now, looking back, that I took lightly then. It's, if you have faith, don't hesitate to share faith.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that's what matters on this side.
Right.
So I didn't share that with Ken, but many years later, I found myself in Texas for the first time. I got stationed at Fort Hood in 1993, coming out of Korea. Still newlywed, basically. And so we wanted to be together because that was an unaccompanied assignment. And there we were in Texas, in Killeen. And we decided, so we've got to start going to church. I started going to chapel in Korea religiously. But we were going to a little Baptist church, Northside Baptist Church. And they were preaching it straight. And I went soul winning for the first time.
Nice.
This is June 1993. The week prior, Gail and I both got baptized. She said, hey, I didn't get baptized after I got saved. I'm feeling some conviction about it. And I said, well, I've been baptized. I've gone to church, got Baptist on my dog tag still. And it's like, I'll just do this with you.
Mm-hmm.
The very next week, knock on the third door, Romans Road. Know the verses. Girl says, I've never been to church. And this was striking. I needed it. She said, I've never been to church. I'm like, wedding, funeral, Christmas, Easter?
Nothing.
She said, I've never been to church. I said, we're sharing Romans Road. She said, I've never heard about Jesus. I said, TV evangelist? You know, never. Nothing.
Wow.
Nada. Romans 3. Romans 6:23. Romans 5:8. Romans 10. And the words coming off the page like it's three-dimensional.
Yeah.
She's hearing the gospel for the first time. Holy Spirit is like George Matthews
Your turn, buddy.
with a G. Remember when you were 7, 8, maybe 9 years old? At our church, pastor always used to say his message twice. And so the sermon that was vivid, like I was sitting there as a 8-year-old boy. Not everybody that says, Lord, Lord, is going to heaven. I say again, not everybody that says, Lord, Lord, is going. He's preaching Matthew chapter 7, last part of the chapter. And there are many that will say, hey, I did this, I did that. I sang in the choir. I got baptized. I preached. I went soul winning, knocking on. Depart from me, thou that worked iniquity. I never knew you. And it was apparent that after reading Romans, seeing it three-dimensional, you could be hearing it the 100th time.
Right.
Until you believe it in your heart.
That's right.
And confess it with your mouth.
Yeah.
All of the other actions mean nothing.
Right.
You have it on your dog tag. And if I had been in Ken's boots,
You did
that'd be
55.
some in hell, still in torment.
Right.
So I want to believe in my heart Ken didn't go, because he saw some of the soldiers that went. And he was like, that's some hypocrites right there.
Right.
That's some craziness.
Well, I think that's what we're most well known for, right?
Right.
We're hypocrites quite often.
At our best.
Right.
At our best. So that's 20 June 93. I'd already been baptized, so it took a while when I should have that night just said, look, the gig is up. Here I am. But after some time, people were asking me, hey, what's your testimony? What I've just shared.
Right.
That's my testimony. It was no other time where it was real in my heart that I confessed it.
Right.
So, coming to command time at Fort Hood, mechanized infantry, Bradley fighting vehicles instead of the 113s from Vietnam that we had in
Right.
Panama. So a little more advanced. And from there, my career took a neat turn. I was really blessed to be an advisor to the Louisiana National Guard in my wife's hometown. So that was exciting. And then I had an assignment at Fort Valley State University teaching senior ROTC. And so we segue from 2000 to, 97 to 2000 at Fort Valley to now, where for the last 10 years, I've spent time as a junior ROTC instructor. 24 years in the military, retired. Been some great places, Hawaii being one of them. But
We had
Texas.
the privilege of going to your
Texas.
church there in Hawaii when we were there. It was a great experience.
It was exciting that y'all went to Hawaii and were able to fellowship with some of the people.
Correct.
Yeah, that was a blessing. That was huge. So yes, here I am. Long story, made longer, but that's kind of a nutshell of my military career and my testimony.
Well, I think that you hit some pretty important, topics and important life lessons there. So not sharing when we can share, not just that, but being on the outs with somebody or having a conflict with somebody and not dealing with that also, and things going to a point where you can't see them anymore, you can't talk to them anymore. But that's something that hurts both of you long term.
Sure.
And should always be rectified the best you can, for sure. So you've been in the Army. You've had this sounds like a pretty great career.
Pretty great. Two tours to Iraq. I didn't leave anything there the first time, but they sent me right back.
And it's into the dig anyway. Appreciate that very much.
Yes, absolutely.
And I mean that for somebody that did not go.
Blessings.
I really appreciate it. And anybody else out there that's watching that's been in the military or has gone to Afghanistan and done something for us, no matter what the country may think or anybody else, we truly
we
appreciate you
that
and what you've done.
greatly.
That's an astounding thing.
No doubt.
So
And
you're
not just Army, Navy, Marine,
all of them.
Coast Guard,
Even the Coast Guard.
Air Force.
They get better meals in the Air Force, don't they?
Well, I don't know. We got fed pretty good. We got fed pretty good.
So you've got this military career come back. You finished that up, kinda, and then another door opened up for you. What was that?
So, my last assignment was Fort Hood. We left Hawaii and wanted to get back, and we always thought Georgia would be the spot, because Virginia, Georgia, Louisiana, but we loved our time at Killeen and Fort Hood in the 90s, and I got saved in the 90s, so we were like, hey, opportunity to come back to the CAV. I was in the CAV as a company commander. Now I'm a lieutenant colonel. Come back home to first CAV, a great place, and we took the opportunity. So that was my last assignment, but I used to drive through the Clear Creek entrance, and so on Clear Creek you're going to pass Shoemaker High School, and I was passing Shoemaker going to work, passing Shoemaker coming home, and I used to eat at the same little barbecue place, Clem McKeeska's is not there anymore, but come back at lunchtime through the Clear Creek gate, eat, there's a school right here. So General Shoemaker, living legend. Have a school named after you while you're living. You are something else, and he was something else. West Point graduate, served in the CAD, Force Com commander, a school named after him while he's living. So one of the days in that restaurant, I met the senior Army instructor, Colonel Lynn Tate, who is also a Christian. He was eating with his wife, and we talked. And he said, I'm going to probably do this a couple more years, but if you're interested, here's my number. We exchanged numbers. And sure enough, got the job. What's so crazy, this is how good God is. The principal was from Virginia. He went to Virginia State University, which is an HBCU. I taught Fort Valley as an HBCU, but my mother went to Virginia State 10 years prior to him. My sister went 10 years after him. So that was truly amazing.
A lot of similarities there.
Yeah, bring that around and have that job. I did that for 5 years, and I thought I wasn't going to do it anymore. Had a knee surgery. I was hurting, and I took a year off completely. And you've been out to my house many a time. We were having some problems with the house, and my wife's like, "You're going back to work, right?" So anybody that's retired, if you're still able, you might want to go back to work so that you can buy some stack-up coffee.
Some stack-up coffee. That's right. That's right. You did a great intro.
Hey,
There you go.
that's a segue.
Natural.
We do have some stack-up coffee. That's what we're drinking today. So I'll go ahead and do the plug now since you opened the door. This is veteran and law enforcement, first responder approved, happy to support coffee. This coffee is only ordered online. This particular one that we're drinking today comes from Nicaragua. It's a medium roast, and this one in my hand is from Colombia. But you can find them online at Stack Up, and then I will leave a note at the credits and give you the website and all that good stuff there. But it's excellent coffee. It doesn't sit on a shelf somewhere. You have to order it and they ship it directly to you, and you can even get some cool shirts to go along with it. But appreciate that, George. Let us put that in there right quick.
And you could probably afford it on a retirement pay. But I was blessed again, and the only place that I could find to work was Houston, at Chavez High School.
And what are you doing at these high schools?
So I'm doing senior Army instructor. Junior ROTC is not about getting high school kids to join the military, any branch of service. It's about motivating them to be better citizens.
That's great.
That's what ROTC is about. We're going to teach you some organization. Yes, there's some discipline and some marching, but the main thing is citizenship and service to your community, and being a leader. So I've had a great opportunity to teach that in 2 different schools, 2 total different communities.
Right.
The school in Houston was 86% Hispanic, but they just adopted me like I was from Houston.
Right.
And I had 3.5 great years in Houston.
Yeah. Well, tell me about that. So some of the kids you had in there, is this a normal middle class family that you're typically working with, or is it all sorts, or how does that work?
So not the majority of the school was not what you would say upper or middle class. The majority of the school were middle and slightly less than little and less than that. So economically challenged, if you will.
Okay.
And aren't we all? But just the most loving folks that you can imagine. Here's the other twist of fate, you would say. The school is where Vanessa Guillen graduated from.
Wow.
She graduated in 2018. She wasn't in ROTC, but most of the cadets knew her because she was very friendly.
Right.
And she played soccer. And
Right.
so cadets that were staying after school for some of our activities
Right.
would see her. She was very friendly. And so I ended up at the same school. huge for me.
Right. That's a pretty overwhelming story as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had some privy to it through other means, and then I actually I think it was Netflix had a special about it, and I watched that. It's pretty horrible. It's a pretty horrible
It was
situation.
a very horrible situation.
You know, all the way around for everybody involved. But that is, I would say that's a blessing. You were in the same place, same time at one point. So that's pretty cool.
It was very cool.
So you are running with these kids and trying to teach them and establish some good people skills for the future, for the community, for themselves.
It's sort of like this. And my niece was like, "No, you're not going to do that, Uncle." And I was like, "Yes, I am." I believe that children are our future.
Right.
And if we teach them well and help them lead the way, we can show them all the beauty that they possess inside. We can give them a sense of pride, which will make it easier. We can help the children laugh and sing and show them how it used to be when we were growing up.
Right.
See, I decided long ago, Justin, never to walk in any man's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, you can't take away my dignity.
Dignity.
Why? Because the greatest.
Love all.
So you with me?
I had to sing that song in the 4th grade. But
that song is true.
Right? Yeah.
But they are our future, and it's in the Cadet Creed. We are the future of the United States of America. When we recognize that our time's going to be up, and we don't know when it's going to be up, but it's going to be up, and so our sons and our daughters are going to take over.
Right.
And if we haven't prepared them mentally,
right.
physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually, what future does America have?
We've set them up for failure.
We've set them up for failure, and we've set ourselves up for failure because there's no one to take care of us when we can't take care of ourselves.
That's right. So, you and I talked about the other day over the phone, but, I see it in my mind. That's how you help take care of some of these kids. Because I would say, I'm just guessing, but I'm going to guess that probably most of those kids probably didn't have both parents in the household.
That's true.
You're coming in as kind of that father figure role and trying to instill some value, trying to instill some morals, and trying to help these kids get to a better place in life that they might not have been able to make without having that male figure in their life. So to me, that's outstanding. And that takes a lot of patience. It takes a whole lot of putting up with stuff that you probably didn't want to put up with, working extra when you didn't feel like it, showing up when you didn't want to be there. Now, I know you and I know your heart, and I know you were there. You were there regardless. But those things come up, right?
So here, for me, and I would say the majority of those that do it, that are doing it well, that heart that you talked about, when you love your country and you love the kids, and you shouldn't do it unless you do, they keep you young. I was diagnosed with throat cancer while I was at Houston. Mm-hmm. So where else would you want to be on the planet?
In Indiana.
Right. The VA, literally,
right
across the street from MD Anderson. Right. But here's God. I had a classmate back in Chesapeake, Virginia, same neighborhood. She had been living in Houston for 6 years, and she had cancer. She turned me on to her oncologist. Her oncologist had interned at the VA and spent some time in MD Anderson as well. But I used them, and I'm cancer-free. But I brought it up to say this. The kids and how they rallied around me, and not just the ones I was currently teaching, but ones that I had taught at Shoemaker, ones that I had taught at Fort Valley State University. Turn around, now they're grown with kids, full colonels, guy with a double doctorate degree. would come to Houston, visit my kids, because at some point I couldn't talk, and I'm a teacher.
Right.
And you can't talk, you're kind of like going to be looking for another job.
Right.
But you can write on the board. But I had some people come stand in for me, and then so many people stand with me,
right,
sending me cards and letters and Facebook messages about, hey, we're with you. Get strong. We're praying. Right. And
well, I think that goes to your own testimony of how you didn't just show up to class and deal with those that are directly in front of you. Your influence spread out wide, did it?
Right, and it came back around.
Came back around.
Whatever you put into something, you get back, and you get back more than you put in.
Right.
So it wasn't days like I don't want to be here. It was days I'm blessed to have the job.
Right, right, and just to clarify, not mentally thinking I don't want to be here. I mean, I don't feel good. Things are not going well. I'd have any excuse in the world to walk out and do something else, and everybody would call me justified.
Yep.
But you show up anyway, right? And I think that's a big deal. It doesn't matter if you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to build relationships. It doesn't matter if you're trying to be a positive influence in your community or anywhere else. Showing up when you don't feel like it, I think, is key.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got some of that as well, right?
Yeah. There's been a lot of times when I've been, I've torn up both my knees, had to have knee surgery, and you instead of standing behind the pulpit, you put a chair up on the auditorium platform, and
right,
you still get out there and teach and preach and
right,
try to encourage people. We have a lot of issues with my wife's health,
right,
and the last few years has been difficult with my children as well. But you have to show up every day,
right,
and it's not that I don't have a choice. I guess I could choose to not show up every day, and take care of responsibilities and be there to raise my kids and provide for my family. And I mean, there's lots of guys that are doing it, but I just want to have better character than that.
Right.
I understand, like you said, that the children are our future, and so I want to set my kids up for success, and be that example that my dad was for me growing up, because I think it's very, very lacking, and I'm thankful that you do. You're involved with what you're involved in, helping these kids, and I had an opportunity to do a little bit of that when I was a school bus driver, and it's a great feeling when they come back later and say, hey, I straightened my life up, I'm not on drugs anymore, here's my little girl that I just had. It's so that's
pretty cool
that's
stuff
an
there.
amazing feeling. Yeah.
right. And not to minimize that, but your wife and your family in general, I mean, y'all got severe lupus going on, you've got severe Sjogren's, you've got she's had her tendons replaced, she's crushed her bones, your kids have had sick stuff, you've had throat cancer, your wife is always having some issues going on and not negligible. Tremendous stress with that stuff, tremendous amount of, I know your week looks like doctor's appointments pretty much the majority of the week.
Every day.
And we're in that same boat as well. We have cystic fibrosis going on in our family with my son and myself, and it's doctor visits all the time, and that's how it is. It would be very easy to just claim a disability and check out and just go home, watch some Netflix, and hang out. It'd be really easy to self-indulge in those emotions and getting down and being sad. But something that I've noticed about you guys, and especially you, is the smile. The smile never stops. No matter how bad you feel, it never stops. It's always going. And just walking around, and you mentioned it too. You mentioned it in church all the time. Tell everybody to put a smile on. When everybody else has a normal life and they're fine. They ain't got a smile on. But you're dealing with all this stuff in the background. Not to mention the devil coming around trying to mess with you. And you tell everybody to put a smile on because it's contagious. And you walk around. Right. You affect everybody around you with a smile. Look at it.
And we're truly blessed all of us to be able to be in the positions that we're in. I know you talked about that several times already today. Being where God put you and being able to be used, in the situations that you've been in. So,
well, I definitely want to thank you, not just for your service, but for everything you do. There's who knows how many kids out there that have benefited from you being in their life, and that's not something that I personally could jump into. I don't have that skill set or that love that you have to deal with some of that stuff. It's in a different manner. I'll give it to you this way.
Doesn't it?
It's in a different manner, but most people don't have it within their bandwidth to go deal with kids like you do, to handle kids like you do, and that's a big thing. That's a big skill to have, and I appreciate you doing it because there's not enough of you, for sure. Well, what else you got for us?
Well, we did a plug for the first
We
responders
did.
in the military.
We did.
And you just did a plug for teachers. I think that teachers do not get the due that they deserve.
absolutely.
That's a tough business these
And
days.
that's a business that is getting tougher. My mom was a school teacher,
Right.
so
Yeah.
teachers, keep doing what you're doing because it is a calling.
Thank you.
It is a testimony. It is a test. And drink coffee if you get tired,
There you go.
or water, and keep smiling.
There you go.
That's it.
Well, George, I appreciate you being here,
No
man.
doubt.
Thanks for coming out of your way to come all the way up here
Appreciate
and
it,
talk with a couple of Burnett County people and share your wisdom and information. I appreciate it very much.
All right, honey, coming home.